Okay, so this topic, selective breeding, the use of biological resources. So objectives are to understand how selective breeding can develop plants with desired characteristics, understand how selective breeding can develop animals with desired characteristics, so plants and animals. So, first of all, what is selective breeding? Definition, Fahad, please. What do you think it is? How to,
It is,
you know
it
what
is
I know you know what it is, but how would you define it in a sentence?
it is when you take two animals and breed them together.
That's it?
When you choose two animals with the best characteristics that you want and breed them together to get the best characteristics.
Yes, so selective breeding is when you choose two organisms with certain desirable, the characteristics that you want, yeah? And you breed them together. Therefore, the offspring have a high chance of inheriting the desired characteristics. This has been done by farmers with both plants and animals for hundreds of years, but we have more advanced techniques nowadays to make the process even better. So, for example, a dairy farmer may want cows that produce lots of milk. Obviously, if you're a dairy farm, what's dairy, Fahad?
Milk products.
Yeah, milk products, good. So they're gonna select the best cows to breed, which have the best characteristics for producing milk. Name the cows here. So if you select the best offspring and breed them and continue for many generations, you'll get the breed that is very specialized for one particular trait. The trait here, or the characteristic here, is the milk yield. So if you breed this cow with this bull, you'll get the highest milk yield. That's what we want as farmers. Okay. So animals are selectively bred for many reasons. We've mentioned one. Can you mention any others, Fahad?
For hunting.
For
And,
hunting?
yes, and for like you said for milk, and there
Milk,
is for good meat.
meat, okay. Anything else?
No.
Okay. Well, to have a higher yield, you're correct, with meat, milk, eggs, for example, produce greater quantity of offspring, so there's more of them. Produce better quality of skin, fur, or wool, for example, leather, or fur or wool from, for example, sheep. Be more resistant to disease and pests. So if you know there's an animal who can fight off disease or doesn't get a particular disease, you want to breed that animal so its offspring also have there's more of a likelihood of the offspring
So,
inheriting that. Yes.
can selective breeding happen between two different species?
For example,
For example, lion and tiger.
yes, ligers are produced. However, these new species, ligers, they cannot reproduce themselves. They cannot reproduce themselves. Okay? Right, anyway, to be able to run faster. So I'm sure you've seen it in camel racing, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and dog racing, horse racing, etc. And also reach maturity quicker. So some animals, they become adults very quickly, sorry. Right. So the process, very simple. Animals with the desired characteristics are chosen, they're bred together, the offspring show the characteristics, and then again they are bred together, and this is carried out over many generations, and it's usually done by artificial insemination. What does artificial insemination mean?
Artificial means man-made And examination, I don't know.
Okay, so if you carry on reading the green box, maybe it'll become clearer. So one
Ball semen can impregnate many cows, for example. It's also much safer and easier.
Yeah,
Okay, so
so
we use
yeah,
one male to breed with many females.
yeah, but it's not natural breeding, so humans actually insert the semen or the
Okay.
sperm. Okay, that's artificial insemination. Okay, so selective breeding in plants. Crop plants are selectively bred in order to produce plants that give a high yield, produce a lot of edible plants, so vegetables, for example, are resistant to disease or pests, do not bend or snap in the wind, so they're stronger, can resist drought, flooding, or frost. What's drought?
Drought means like they to no.
What does it mean?
Like when someone is drowned in the water.
Nope. So drought means that there's not enough water.
Opposite. Yes, doesn't
Not
have
enough
water.
water, yeah? Okay. Flooding or frost are more nutritious, more nutrients, have better flavor, and have a longer shelf life. What does shelf life mean?
They live in the shelf more.
Kind of. Longer shelf life means that for example, we're talking about plants, right? So vegetables. The vegetables have a longer life before they start decaying and rotting. In the shops, for example. Make sense?
Yes.
Hope so. This is particularly of interest to cannabis farmers. So what they do, they selectively breed different strains of cannabis plants to create super strains, or even vegetable farmers as well. You'll be surprised our modern day vegetables, how they've been selectively bred. For example, I know broccoli or even potatoes.
Mr. Broccoli is not from plants, yes. It's man-made vegetable.
Yeah, so everything was selectively bred. It's not natural, so it was bred to be that way. Okay, so how do we do it? Plants with the desired characteristics are chosen, just like the animals. These are crossbred. So pollen from one plant is placed onto the stigma of the other. We should know that from our plant reproduction. The seeds are collected and germinated. What does germinated mean?
Spread.
No. Germination. Do you remember?
Growth.
When the seed starts to give out its shoots
Yes,
or
growth.
root. Yeah. The offspring with the inherited characteristics are selected and crossbred again. This process is repeated. This is a key word here, keywords, over many generations until a new variety is produced with all the desired traits. Right, Fahad. Number one, selective breeding is the same as cloning.
No.
Good. Selective breeding is a new scientific development.
No, it's old.
Selective breeding can be done with animals and plants.
Yes.
Animals can be selectively bred for speed.
Yes.
Animals can be selectively bred for disease resistance.
Yes.
Good. Plants can be selectively bred for flavor.
Yes.
Good.
No.
Ah.
Nah.
The way it tastes. Imagine a vegetable that doesn't taste very nice. You're not going to selectively breed that one. So plants can be selectively bred for pest resistance.
Yes.
Correct. You put pollen on the anther to crossbreed a plant.
No. On the segment.
Stigma, yeah. You germinate the collected fruit.
No.
Yeah, because seeds germinate. You carry out selective breeding over many generations.
Yes.
Good. Right, so have a look at this question. State 3 characteristics you can selectively breed in animals. I'm just going to give you a minute to think about it, and then I'm going to ask you, which will give me a chance to assign you a new assignment.
Mister,
Yes?
did we take cloning or not yet?
No, not yet.
No.
But if you have a look on your teams now, yeah,
Okay.
go into assignments.
Okay.
There's fish farming there.
Yes.
Yeah, you should have done that
When?
when it was assigned to you.
Okay,
So I've
I'll
changed
do
the
it.
date. I've changed the date, so you need to do that. What the questions are images, yeah. So you need to write it underneath the image, the answers.
Okay.
Are you with me? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So now what I'm doing now, I'm adding a selective breeding exam practice question for you.
May I answer this question now? You want me to answer it?
Please, yes. Please
Orally
answer.
or I answer
Yeah,
it?
yeah. Tell me.
Okay. For animals, milk and skin or fur and speed.
Speed, did you say?
Yes, or resistance. More resistance for pests.
Pest resistance. Okay. Higher yield, more offspring, better quality of skin. You got that mark. Resistant to pest or disease. You got that mark. Speed. You got that mark. Flavor. You could have said growth rate. Yeah, you could have got that mark.
Is strength one of them? Can be strength.
Strength.
Like when you have a dog
You
that
need
guards your farm or something like that.
strength for what though?
To protect the animals.
Like a dog or something.
Yes. That's
Yeah,
the farm.
possibly. Yeah, possibly. That is true. Right. So if you have a look in your assignments, it's just gonna come up. Okay. So where is it? Selective breeding. So
I
if
see
you
it.
have a look at your screen now, just give it a few minutes onto your teams. But
Yes, I have it
I'm
now.
talking.
See it.
Oh, you have it, yeah? Selective breeding, so you can answer the questions. It says farmers can improve their crop, plants, or farm animals by the use of selective breeding. Explain what is meant by selective breeding and give 2 examples of its use. So here is 6 marks, just one question. And then here, I can't read this properly.
So
It's a bit
this
blurry.
means that this question 17 is
Yeah.
the explanation for marks.
Yeah. So
Okay.
is this plant triticale, I think, is a cereal plant produced by crossing 2 closely related plants, wheat and rye. Wheat has a high nutritional quality and the yield is high. Rye is resistant to drought and fungal infection and tolerant to the cold. Triticale shows a combination of these 2 characteristics. Suggest how each of the following characteristics would help the growth. So cold tolerance and resistance to fungal infection. So your job is to complete this and hand it back into me on Teams.
Now